Welcome to EdTech AM with me, Abid Patel.
And me, Meagan Alfano. Every episode, we rip up the script and take a fun look at tech, education, life, and everything in between. So jump on in and join us. Hello.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing?
We're good. All of us here are good. How is everyone there? I saw a cat in the background.
We have cats running around all over the place. They are. It's pretty late here. It's 11 o'clock where we're recording in the evening. Time zones is a thing, and I would say it's late, but the cats are nocturnal. They are.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm looking at them, kind of deciding whether they want to retire to bed or not, which will probably last like 20 or 30 minutes, and then they will be running around like absolute maniacs that they do.
I didn't know the cats slept, actually. I thought they just pretended.
Oh no, they sleep like 15 hours a day. But they sleep pretty much all day long, and then spend the night. Like I'll be sound asleep in bed or trying to sleep, and I'll be just hearing thuds and thumps and you name it, all sorts going on where they're just running around like mad.
Yeah, we used to have a cat. I am allergic to cats, like super allergic to cats. But we used to have one. We had a Bengal cat, you know, the one with the spots.
Yes.
Her name was Pepper Potts. She was so cute, but she was crazy. She would wait until you fell asleep, and then she would walk along the top of like the headboard, and then she would just jump right on your face and then run away.
So I'm guessing nighttime was when she put her Iron Man suit on, basically.
100%. Yeah, she was. Yeah, we should have named her like, I don't know, like Magneto or something. She was pure evil. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
Adorable though. Adorable cat.
Indeed.
Yeah. How's your life? We haven't seen each other for a while, everybody. I've been neglecting to podcast. My life has been it's all my fault. I take full blame. I've received many messages from Abid throughout many days saying, hey, are you free to podcast? And sometimes I say straight up, I'm not. And then sometimes I'm like, yes. And then later I message him back, I'm actually not. So apologies for the lateness. My life.
When we last spoke, you were striking, so it's like I'm sat here.
Yeah.
What on earth is she doing?
Yeah, she's not doing anything actually. She's just taking care of her children who are also striking. And now I am back at work, and I work 0.8, but I think I actually like 0.8 of a full-time contract. But I think I actually work like 1.75 of a full-time contract. And then there's that whole nighttime thing where I decided to go back to grad school. So life is it's something.
I can imagine. And I'm learning that new normal, as I'm calling it, being now on the consultancy side of things, where doing a lot of work here and there, which is like 0.2, 0.4, 0.8, and it's kind of like, you know, when you get, if you're working on for XYZ company on Monday, and then, you know, ABC company on Tuesday, you know, when you get a tiny little email saying, hey, just one tiny little thing on the Thursday, like, do you ignore it? Do you answer it?
You're just like back up slowly. I know, and I don't know about you, but I'm terrible because I actually don't think at all about whether or not I have time before I say yes. I'm like 100% yes, I'm free for anything. Like, if you just knew me through email, you'd think I actually didn't have a job, and I just had like all the time in the world.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've been learning a lot about the time management bit, right? Yeah. And scheduling, and in my current role as the and I need to speak to Dave about a better title, the UK and Ireland School Success and Community Consultant for Edpuzzle.
So,
right, I have a Calendly link, and so people can, educators who are working with Edpuzzle can click on my link and book a time with me. And I've been learning to kind of block out times in my calendar to actually do work, because like, unless I'm out on the road, or unless I'm in a meeting or in a Google Meet or some form of a virtual meeting, right? When you're doing boring paperwork or admin or that kind of stuff, like in your calendar, you are free.
Yes.
And so like I've had to start like, if right now I'm going to write a report, and then just putting a calendar note to say writing reports, right?
Yeah.
Do not book a meeting with me during this time, sort of thing. And so that's been really interesting. But it was funny. I was having a chat with someone the other day, and I was watching a TikTok video about someone who logged a complaint against the council, and the council were trying to fight back, and they had lawyers, and the council ended up losing because it was like a no-win. It was just a no-win scenario for them, sort of thing. But the lawyers were totally milking them for like, and the way those kind of charges work is like, I've now moved as a consultant, I'm now working on a day rate, right? And so in that day, I just do effectively unlimited amount of work between based on the job description, between the hours of 8 and 5, for example.
Yeah.
Right. But the way some of these legal firms work is, hey, so that court case we've got against Meagan, she asked us something, and so I had to reply to her.
Yes.
It took me 20 minutes to write the draft. Well, first I had a 20-minute conversation with her. That's chargeable. That's billable. Then I had to write the email response to her. That took me 30 minutes to draft. That's 30 minutes of billables, right? And all that. And it's just kind of like, hey, I'm about to take a sip of water.
Mm-hmm.
Billable, right? It's like
it's insane. It's like the amount of time. I just want to know how they track it. Like, did they make it up, or do they actually take time to track it? And like, how much time does that take? Because also, could you imagine if teachers did that? If we
I mean, we already talk about how broken education is in terms of work.
Costa Rica. Oh my gosh, I'd be retired. Holy moly. I'd be like, I argued with this parent for 45 minutes on the phone about lunch. Billable. I wiped a nose. Billable. One time I got a kid's tooth. That should have been billable.
I mean, that should come with, like, certifications of dentistry and
extremely underqualified. Let me tell you what, but his mother insisted. She's like, just do it. I can't come. I was like, this feels like I would lose my job. It was almost out. We did it. I'm filing it in retirement stories to tell my great-grandchildren. It's fine. I'll never make as much as a lawyer. My parents will always be disappointed in my life choices. It's okay.
Who knows? One day we'll make it. We'll be able to bill for the air we breathe.
You bet. You bet. Everyone else will, but not teachers.
Indeed. We can hope. We can hope. We can live in hope.
I know. So you've been busy. I've been busy here, but not doing cool stuff like you. You went to Bett. You're going to ISTE in a few months, right?
Yes, I'm going to ISTE. I booked my ISTE back in October, actually. I'm presenting at ISTE as well. I'm doing 2 sessions, I think. So EdTech Smackdown again. That was really, really popular last year, really successful. And I'm also doing another session on 7 things you can do with AI but shouldn't. And I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that in collaboration with a wonderful educator here in the UK called Emma Darcy. Shout out to Emma Darcy, who's a member of the Digital Futures Group, along with myself and some other wonderful educators. she totally smashed it with that. She wrote the proposal for that thing. I can't take too much credit. She was great at that proposal, and they obviously loved it. So yeah, we're doing that at ISTE as well. But before that, yeah, I had a very busy winter as well. I went to Riyadh and Bahrain, got some rest out there. Actually did some EdTech stuff, met up with the GEG leader for Bahrain,
cool.
Ahmed Ali. He's a cool guy, really cool guy. We had we went out for a bite to eat, had a good time. And then yeah, back to home. I've been busy doing Edpuzzling for the last well, since November, and I actually finish up my contract with Edpuzzle this week,
Whoa,
and then I am, yes, so only a short commitment. I'm hoping to be back. We still need to discuss that, but yeah, it's been very interesting being on the other side of EdTech, which has been very eye-opening, indeed. Seeing how things are on the other side from a corporate perspective, and how, you know, it's interesting for me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the first person to make the jump from education to corporate education effectively, but you know, you don't know it until you've lived it, and it's very different. But at the same time, it's still education, right? And there's a whole load of lots of considerations and things, but also I'm finding a newfound gratefulness for the experience I've had over the last 20 years in education, from that sense, that how much that experience has taught me in readiness for this experience, and then the value I bring to the table in this role, having lived that for 20 years, has been extremely eye-opening and engaging and fun, and as well, like, you know, I've always worked for the last 20 years in schools that were 5-minute drive from home, sort of thing, and so be able to hit the road on #Abid's UK tour, visiting other schools around the UK, schools and colleges, and delivering training. It's been really nice. It's been really nice, really eye-opening, and yeah, just it's been a lovely time, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And it has been really busy, really busy. That's been crazy. And then we went headfirst into Bett, and this was my 21st Bett.
So you wait. So your first Bett was when you first got your job in to school.
So I graduated in 2004, got my first job in 2004. Yeah, got my first job as soon as I left uni, and the first Bett I attended was in 2005.
Okay, cool.
And I keep telling people, like, my first Bett experience was kind of, someone told me about Bett. I had no idea what it was. I was just told it's an EdTech trade show, but EdTech wasn't really a word at the time. It was just it was a geeky show, basically.
Right. Computers and
stuff. But you know, that was still no reason to go until someone told me you get a lot of freebies. And so, you know, at the time it was towards the west side of London, so it was about an hour's train journey from me at the time, when it used to take place in Olympia. And very much the reason I went was purely to get the freebies. And I remember coming back, and at the time they used to, you know, you've gone through like 20 years of kind of viral swag, and at the time, so nowadays it tends to be tote bags when you want to carry something, but back then they used to have those kind of the cardboard gift bags that you get
yeah.
with the straight with the ropey strings, right? So all of the stands used to do that. So we used to get, as you go in, they used to give you
like
a
we're
bag,
at a mall.
right? Yeah. Oh yeah, totally like that. And they used to give those, and then all of the other stands would have it. And so as you went through for the show, you'd just fill it up with swag, right? To the point where it was at breaking point. But of course, then I'm then taking the train back to East London, and by the time I got home, I've got like 2 red lines on my shoulder from like how heavy the bags were, and the rope has literally burnt into my shoulders. So yeah, that was my first few bets, was just collect as many pens as I possibly could. Right.
You know what? Because it's fun. I'll tell you what, that's still so very much a thing. Like we have a thing here called Skills Canada. So through this, the kids will go in junior high, elementary, so like 13 to 17-year-olds, and they'll go and they'll learn about trades. So like welding or making Ethernet cables, or like how they use drones to site out like future home sites, like all of these kinds of things. But they go for the stuff, because nothing fills me with more glee than watching these kids. They do go play all the things, but like there's one with like VR. He's like VR welding, and like another one's making hula hoops out of plumbing pipe, and like they're like, I have pens, I have sunglasses, and they're all like, they've got 6 sunglasses on their face when they leave, and they've just had the best day. And I was like, that's great. You went for the free stuff, but you had a good time. I mean, and you probably learned something.
You know, what was funny this year was I was doing a couple of presentations on behalf of Clever, who are owned by Kahoot, and Kahoot had one of the biggest stands at Bett this year.
Really?
Right. And so I was presenting on the Kahoot stand for 2 days, but Kahoot were giving away these Kahoot capes. And it was hilarious. Like as I'm getting ready to present, suddenly I've got a swarm of really young primary school, elementary children, all and the children always come in their high-vis jackets, right? So you've got a swarm of high-vis jackets, and I'm like, you guys aren't here for cybersecurity. I know that you're not, right? And then they're like, hey, can you tell us where we can get the capes from? And I'm like, yeah, sure, go over to that desk and they will fill you with capes.
It works. Marketing works. Guess what? They remember the name Kahoot now. They already know, don't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So 21 years of Bett. Interesting, definitely. A lot has been learned in that time, but this Bett was obviously very different for me. I say very different. It was different in my mind, in the sense that this is the first Bett that I'm doing as me, Abid Patel, founder of It Just Works.
Yeah.
And kind of there was an internal mental stress that every conversation I had during Bett was kind of like, hey, how's it going? How's life? And then in the back of mind, it's like, right, make money, right? You got to pay the bills, bills. How are we going to generate a lead from this sort of thing, right? Whereas I'm just like, hey, do you want to go for pizza? like, you know, that kind of thing. And so there was that. And I think coming out of Bett, I've probably, even during the show, I was saying it's probably going to take me the rest of this year to kind of figure out what does Bett 2027 look like for me. Or every other conference that I go to this year, what does that look like for me in terms of how do I do it? Do I just continue to do the conferences as is and kind of just follow up afterwards, or is it more powerful in that moment? Because we all know, right, having been through the pandemic and done so much of this virtual, that it's great to be able to keep in touch with each other through the virtual. That's great, but nothing beats the in-person connections, right?
It's true.
And this year at Bett, they had something called the First Timers Club, and so the Bett team were like, hey, Abid, would you please come to the First Timers Club and like fill them with your knowledge sort of thing? And I was like, okay, cool. And so I actually turned around and said to him, there's an awful lot to see here at Bett. And you're not going to be able, even if you are here for the full 3 days from whatever time it opens till whatever time it shuts, you're not going to be able to see everything at all.
Yeah.
And part of me says that what you might want to do is not actually see anything at all. Hey, if you want to learn about Gemini, go to the Google stand and make the connections with the people, right?
Yeah.
If you want to learn about, if you want to learn about, I don't know, about Edpuzzle, if you want to learn about Magic Square, if you want to learn about all of those things, first and foremost, at the Excel Center, the Wi-Fi is shocking, right? So most of the time, the planned presentations aren't working, the live demos never work properly and all that. Go there, talk to the people who work for those companies, make the connections with them, talk to them, get to know them, build those connections. And then, you know what, next week, jump on a Zoom, jump on a Google Meet, jump on a Teams, and then you can take a look at the product, right?
Well, and they all have PD and training teams as well, right?
Exactly.
So that's their job.
And post Bett, most of the LinkedIn messages were like, Bett was great, and there was tons of AI and tons of discussion about teacher well-being and recruitment crisis and all of that stuff, that the important conversations we need to have. But ultimately, it always comes back to the fact that Bett is about the people.
Yeah,
and it always is going to be. I say that about every conference I go to, because even ISTE, right? Like Bett is very much a trade show, right? And it's about generating those leads and ultimately the sales for the exhibitors. ISTE is very much a PD show, right? It's about the professional development. But you can do PD online, right? You can watch a video, right? You can do all of that stuff. What makes ISTE special, right? It's the people. It's the fact that if you're doing a 1 hour PD on Google Meet, at the end of that, everyone's like, hey, bye, hang up, right? With the in-person meets, you can go and connect with the speaker afterwards. You can build those connections. You can ask them the questions you're too nervous to put your hand up during the session. You can, and it's so much more special.
It's true.
And I think that's ultimately why I say to people, like, and I get it, I get the challenge about, I'm very fortunate that now Bett is at the Excel Center, which is a 10-minute drive from me, and I'm very fortunate for that. But I totally get people, and especially teachers, it's hard for them to get out to Bett. Not just the travel expense, but the fact that it's in the middle of school term, and so schools can't afford to cover them and stuff. And so there's a real challenge where there is a huge section of the industry that is missing out because they can't get to Bett. But I still say anything that you can do, try to get to conferences if you can, because nothing beats building those connections.
It's true. And that's even the case here. Although I feel like I love hearing about your experience with your, year of consulting that you've had so far, because I did mine last year and it's different geographically for sure. So I love that you're able to like go to these things and have these connections with these people. I just feel like that's so awesome because and I don't know, I think it depends on where you are here, but it's like, I loved the conferences and the workshops with teachers. That's my favorite part. I love it. And I get to do that in my job as tech lead now, which is awesome. Like I get to bring in teachers and do that and get paid for it. But the paid ones are so few and far between here that it was so tricky. And I was wondering for you, because you were lots of the travel PD that you did was through Edpuzzle, is that right? Yeah. So I was like, oh man, is it just a UK thing where when you go to present, you get paid for it? Because that was the most shocking thing that I found here that I did not know, because there are 2 conferences here that do pay and pay pretty well for you to do like a 2-hour session or whatever. And that's awesome. I love that. But it's once a year. right? So at first when I went into it, I was like, okay, well, let's find a lot of those. That's great. You know, I've got a good family system and stuff, but it was so often it was like, it's just your time, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's been, it's only very recently where I've two things. One, I've needed to get paid because I don't have a paid job anymore. And two, I've had the courage to ask to get paid. Because, you know, I always say to people, I've had the imposter syndrome for years and years and years, that, you know, ultimately, who wants to hear Abid speak, right? Like, I'm just making it up as I go along, sort of thing. It's kind of how much, yeah, and but you don't know that in your head, isn't it? And so when someone asks you to speak, it's kind of, for a long time it went through my head of the fact that I can't ask for money, because if I ask for money, then they're going to shut down the opportunity immediately. And so then they won't even let me do it for free.
Right.
Because it was like, oh, we weren't expecting you to ask for money. Sorry, this isn't going to work. Bye.
Right.
And a lot of that fear, maybe irrational fear, but who knows, right? Like a lot of that was very much a case of like, I didn't feel that I had the draw, right? I didn't feel that I had the value to do that. It's kind of, and you have to look at it sometimes like, you know, a lot of people, a lot of companies will do this, where it's kind of like, hey, you know, we'd love to give you the opportunity to build your profile and all of that, because let's be honest, no one knows who you are, and we're giving you a platform, sort of thing. And you know, at the end of the day, the profile and the platform don't pay the bills.
No, they don't.
And it took me a long time to get to that point where I was comfortable, but also it's taken, and I probably haven't even realized that until this year, where for the first time in my life, time is money, right? And at first it was kind of like, hey, this company has asked me to do a 20-minute presentation, and I've just given them a crazy figure, which is like more than I would ever like, more than I would ever earn in like 20 minutes elsewhere. But then what immediately doesn't come to mind is the fact that this is a one-off payment, right? So it's not something that's ongoing. So immediately there's a higher charge for that. When you're not getting a salaried paycheck, you don't think about the tax implications, right? Because when you're in a salaried job, you don't see the tax. It just gets automatically cut before you get it. And so you're not thinking of the tax implications and how much you're going to have to pay later on. You're not thinking about the prep, right? And I think this is primarily because we come from education, right? Where it's kind of, you just do the prep, right? You just do it. You just do it. You don't. And there have been times where I was just like, wow, this is a 20-minute presentation, and I've been prepping for 2 weeks.
Yes,
right?
I know.
Like what? And it's kind of that's where it's really made me see that, because even like, for example, when you're traveling and the companies will say, we'll pay for your travel, I'm like, hey, I'm not taking the train, I'm not taking public transport, I'm going to drive it. So HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs here in the UK, the taxman basically have this thing where you get paid, you can reclaim 45 pence per mile. And at first I looked at it and thought, hey, that's great, because that's way higher than the cost of fuel, right? But then someone said to me, yeah, but that doesn't take into, you're not taking into account the wear and tear of your car, right? The usage, or the car insurance, all of that stuff, the road tax. And I'm like, suddenly that 45p is paying peanuts, right? It's kind of, and you never look at it from that sense, because again, coming back to the, hey, you know, all of these charges about the billables for writing the emails and all of that stuff, right? You have to start to think like that. Like, you have to start to think that, okay, I'm preparing for a 20-minute presentation that's going to happen in 3 months' time, but I have to learn, especially when you're in a sector like technology and cybersecurity, EdTech, all of that stuff, where what you're talking about today could possibly be obsolete by the time you get to present. And so as much as you're not trying to be lastminute.com, sometimes you have to be last minute, because that's when I remember, was it 2 years ago at Innovate EDU? It was when OpenAI launched ChatGPT 4.
Okay.
They literally had the keynote when I was on the plane. Right? And I'm presenting in 3 days' time on AI, right, at Innovate EDU.
Do you remember, it was last year, and I was doing a teacher PD in Kelowna in British Columbia, and I had gotten off the plane and I was doing my presentation on Canva, and I opened it up and Canva had Droptober. And I was like, ah!
Oh, Droptober and Canva Create in April. They're the two worst time. I love Canva, right? Proud Canvassador here. But that's the worst time to be presenting or doing any PD. Any PD on Canva. Don't do PD on Canva in April and October.
I sat in that hotel room with my chicken nuggets and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to change everything. It's so cool.
Because it looks completely different. And
different.
But the stuff that breaks is unreal during those months where they're like, you know, both releasing and testing at the same time.
Bananas. It went off great, by the way. But Canva, my heart hurt. I was so excited and so panicky at the same time. It wasn't a good.
I mean, but it happens with everything. You know, it's the live demo thing, right? I've been doing an awful lot of that through my Edpuzzle gig, right? And I've been presenting about Edpuzzle, and I plan, and now I've got to a point where I've done it so many times. I'm just rolling it off, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly I log into Edpuzzle and it's like, that don't look right. Right. And then I'm quickly on right. Hey guys, wait a couple of minutes whilst I'm on Slack, and it's like, hey, I'm in a presentation right now and this is not working. And they're like, yeah, sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. Cloudflare has gone down, and it's kind of like half the internet is broken. And I'm like, yeah, but these guys sat in front of me right now don't care about that. Yeah.
No, it's true.
They're just looking at me and thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's in a fluster, and this platform must be rubbish because it's not working, right?
Right, and that's the last thing you want. I tell you what, that has been like the biggest thing for me this year, because I teach robotics to a bunch of 13-year-olds. Okay, so you have had 13-year-olds, so you know. So we're doing this robotics challenge, and it involves microbits. And like, I'm very good at microbits. I will say it. I'm good at it. I've done an awful lot of PD. Went to South Africa last year. How many microbit sessions did I do? I think like at least 3. And then wouldn't you know, I get in there to do this thing that I have done 3,000 times. And I'm like, that's not quite right. The word changed. Oh, the drop-down menu is not the same as it used to be. Oh, how strange. And then I get it, and then the kids are like, miss, didn't you say that you knew what to do? They're like, never mind, I'll figure it out. And I'm like, nothing hurts your ego more. And you're like, no, I swear, like, I'm good at this. I know what to do here. I can do it. It's just that it changed. And it's very, I don't like that, but I do like it because I like new stuff. But yeah,
it's the ever ongoing challenge, right? It's the fact that we're the passionate EdTech experts, right? Yes. We're the people that the everyday colleagues will come to and ask us the question when they don't understand something or they want to know something, right? And at the same time, we're learning it as it goes along, right? I could say to you, and we get it in the Google Workspace environment, or, hey, did you see that new feature in Google Workspace? Yeah, no, it hasn't rolled out to our Google Workspace yet, but you guys have got it. Them guys haven't got it, but them guys have got it, right?
Yeah.
And then what's even worse is when it happens within your school, within your district, where it's like one user has got it, but the other user hasn't got it.
Where's
Right.
my yeah. That actually also happened in that PD session about Canva. That definitely happened. Yeah.
And it's like the challenge of like sometimes when you're in front of a very tough crowd where they don't understand the value in tech, and they're hard to win over. Sometimes that can be a make or break, right? I've had it the other way, where it's kind of, I hate Google Docs, and it's like, why do you hate Google Docs? Because it can't do page numbers. Hey, guess what?
Absolutely.
File page, it can do page numbers. Wow, I love Google Docs. It's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's just kind of like, was that your showstopper? Right? No. And it could be those tiny little things, that one little thing that is insignificant, right, in the world of development, and the thing that will probably take like 5 minutes of development time.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that it's not the showstopper, right? It's not really a game-changing feature. But to one person it might be, and then that one person could be, and that one person tends to be the person who's been at the school for like 25 years, and what they say is the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why designing like usability is so hard, because everybody has a different idea of what that is, and like it just eventually, the more you use something, the more you just kind of conform to the way that it's used, versus like when you're on the outside, you have this idea of how it should be used, and then you just kind of like level out, But I had this really interesting conversation in one of my PD sessions at work. And it was I was running computer science professional development for grade 3 and 4 teachers, and 5 and 6 teachers as well, because we've got this new computer science curriculum that everybody is really afraid of, and I think it's awesome. But anyway, they were coming in and we were doing some coding. We were using Scratch and we were coding Makey-Makeys. So like something really low floor, easy. And I had one person in my session who was, you always get those people, those difficult people in your sessions who they are an expert and they know everything. And like, I love those people, because those people can be really helpful in a session if they use their powers for good instead of evil. But this person chose evil that day. And so it felt to me like a one-sided boxing match. And I was like, I'm just here. Like I have never claimed to be an EdTech. Like the word expert is always a struggle for me, because it's always changing. And I'm more like an EdTech Explorer. Like I'm willing to just go in and be like, I don't know, and figure it out. And that's always what I try and put onto teachers. That's like my biggest thing. The intersection between education and technology is you do not need to know everything to start. And this was the end. This was our like final KO of this boxing match, was that this poor teacher, not the one that I was, emotionally boxing with, but another one, was really overwhelmed. And she's like, I feel like I can do it in here, but what about out in my classroom? Because she was teaching 3rd grade. And the one other expert teacher said to her, well, yeah, you're going to need to learn how to code first. And at that point, I was like, absolutely not. You don't need to know how to code. It's like, when you're in a room full of kids, never think that you need to be the expert in technology. Is it an ego hit sometimes? Yeah, it is, as I have modeled with the 13-year-olds. But this poor teacher, I was like, you could throw a bin of robots down and say, kids, I've gotten this new stuff. I don't know how to use it. Will you help me figure it out? Like, what would bring a room full of children more joy? Number 1, they get to be smarter than their teacher. Number 2, they get to play with cool stuff. And number 3, no one's telling them what to do. They get to figure it out. Like, that's the best lesson for them. And they're going to learn so much. So that was I think, like, that was a really cool moment for me, because I am the tech lead for my division, but being like, you don't have to know what you're doing. You just have to bring it in front of the people.
The perception and irrational fear thing really hold not just individuals, but the amount of schools and school community. I had it on LinkedIn this morning, right? I was responding to a post about, you know, how some schools are just not on the cloud yet because we're not ready for the cloud, or the cloud is something that just doesn't work for schools properly. And the way you should be doing it is the way we've always done it. And there's no real need for change in that perspective and stuff. And so much of that resentment and so much of that hesitation and resistance to innovation comes from the fact that it's one person had a bad experience. And so, hey, I had a bad experience with Google Chrome, and which is why I'm going to use Firefox for the rest of my life. And so that's why everybody should use Firefox, because Google Chrome is terrible because it crashed on me once during a presentation. Right. And it's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, it's tech. Tech is not infallible. Tech is going to fail on you no matter what. Right. But at the same time, what I say to schools now is, you know, and I always put this picture of a CRT television in my presentations when I'm talking about change management, because like, hey, guess what? That CRT television that's probably in your mum's, you know, basement or in the attic, if you plug it in, it probably still will work, right? Might not be able to get television signals now, right? But you know, but tech isn't made to last like that used to, right? Like it's things are moving at such a fast pace to a point where, exactly as you said, right? We can never be the expert because it's always changing, right? And it's always something that we constantly having to learn. But that resistance to at least try and keep up with it, right, is what is going to is not just going to hold you back, but it's going to negatively impact you. And then ultimately, who suffers? It's not you that suffers. It's not just you that suffers. Your staff, your colleagues will suffer, your students suffer, and your entire school community starts to suffer because and you know, and I still get a lot of pushback to say, hey, you know what, the tech isn't that important, right? What matters is the teaching and learning, but it's the enabler, right? Yeah, and exactly that. But at the same time, I still say to people, right, how much is tech in our life? Let's really step back, forget the teaching and learning for a second, and just look at your life, right? And this is the one that always makes people feel uncomfortable. And I always say this when I'm trying to get people to understand cybersecurity, is when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you touch? And in most people's case, it is the smartphone. Guess what? That is tech, right? It is tech. It might not be the tech you consider in school, especially with all of this conversation around banning smartphones in school and stuff like that. But ultimately, that's tech. Yeah, your life starts on tech. When you're not logged into your computer yet, and you want to check your emails or you want to check your messages and all of that is happening on the smartphone, right? And then you go to work, and then you go and you engage with what the perception is that this isn't real tech. This isn't where I get productivity done. The laptop is where I get the productivity done, right? Fact of the matter is, it's still tech, right? It's just tech of a different variety. That might be a Ford Focus, and this might be a Mercedes, right? But the fact of the matter is, they're still cars, right? They're still going to get you from A to B, and the tech matters in the same way. And it's until we develop that culture of, you know, innovation and that culture of just embracing things as they come. And I say to teachers, especially the ones who are very, like, you know, anti change from the tech perspective, every time we have a new government, or every time we have a new every time the prime minister decides to reshuffle his cabinet, and then, hey, you're no longer the education secretary, this guy is, or it's not that guy, it's this lady, right? And yes, exactly that as well, right? they announce new things, and that usually comes at the drop of a hat, right? And there's a running joke now that when the Department of Education announce something, they don't announce it on the first day of term. They announce it at Friday, 5 p.m. on the last day of term, right? So, right, just before you go on holiday, right?
Yeah.
And, oh, this needs to be implemented for when you come back on Monday at 8 a.m. sort of thing, right? And at that point, you drop everything and you embrace the change. Why? Because you understand the consequence that comes with not embracing that change.
Yeah.
And that's where schools fall over when it comes to tech, and especially cyber attack and cybercrime and cybersecurity. And one of the things I was presenting on at Bett was on cybersecurity. And the message that I'm giving now is in the UK, when it comes to any school, right, and this is the case in most schools in the world, safeguarding, there's no compromise when it comes to safeguarding. Safeguarding is your number one. We're not going to cut any corners with safeguarding. That is the most important thing that needs to happen. But we don't care about the tech, or it's not priority.
Yeah.
Ironically, when you need to log a safeguarding incident, all the records and all of that sits on the tech. And then when you have a cyber attack, you can't then log into those systems, or worse, those systems are compromised and that data is leaked. And we had that scenario in the UK where a massive nursery chain, the Kiddo nursery chain, had a cyber attack, and details of the students, right, young children, were released onto the dark web, right? And regardless of what happened afterwards, apparently the criminals pulled the data because they felt bad because it was hurting children. So fact of the matter is that stuff has happened, right? It's happened. That data has been released, and those children are now impacted for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Are you now telling me that cybersecurity does not equal safeguarding? If you're not taking your cybersecurity, seriously, you are not safeguarding the children. And that comes down to why. And that doesn't just apply to tech. It applies to the leaky roof. It applies to, the type of paint that you use, right? And whether it's, what are we learning about asbestos? Once upon a time, asbestos was the material that everyone used. It was great. And suddenly it's like,
I know.
There you go,
the mold
right?
in the walls.
Exactly.
Yes. It's funny. I don't know. Whenever I come across that, not the cybersecurity part, but just the education part, because that's the realm that I'm in, I'm always like, what's the worst that can happen though? Like, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of our jobs and what we have to do in a day with kids, like it's an important job. We're keeping people alive. We're building social skills. We're doing all that stuff. Is bringing technology into the classroom the most dangerous thing that can happen right now? And we're talking about like a Kahoot. That's what we're talking about, right? When I say we're bringing technology in the classroom, what's the most dangerous thing that can happen? I don't mean that. I mean, like, bringing in some things that kids can learn how to code, or they can create something new on Canva or something like that. Like, if you mess up, nothing happens. Maybe a little chaos.
But you see, and if we're going to be topical about these things, right? What ends up not happening is, not only do we not bring the tech into the classroom, we shut it down. Like today, when our Prime Minister announced that he's going to clamp down on the social media firms and making them responsible for ensuring that inappropriate content is not delivered to children. Great.
Love that.
How are they going to achieve that? By putting in an Australia type under 16s social media ban, right? It's like,
that's not.
I keep saying it, right? We can't make the same mistakes we made with social media, with things when it comes to things like AI, right? Yeah. And I say, what happened all those years ago when Instagram, Facebook, all of these social media platforms were launched? What did we do? Hey, Abid, you're the IT guy, you control the web filter, block all of these things, right? And how much have we learned the minute you put a block onto it, not only are you criminalizing but suddenly you've made it even more attractive, right?
Yes.
It's now it's the cool thing to do, right? Get past the filters, right? It's now it's like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, right? There's an excitement to it, right? And I can do it, right?
It's dopamine.
And then what happens is it becomes you go in the extreme other direction, right? Well, I've said to, and I think, you know, a lot of people will find it controversial when I say we should be teaching how to use social media in schools in a proper manner. And yet now you're going to get into the scenario where now we can't teach it because they're underage according to the new ban, but at the same time they're engaging with it, right? And then you have to, then the safeguarding teams have to address the safeguarding there's safeguarding incidents that are happening because of the stuff that's happening. And then these children will grow up to be adults who are then using social media in wrong way, in ways that they shouldn't be using it. And
it's true. It's like, it's the education piece. The education piece has been over history with anything that has been deemed toxic to society. Education has been the thing that has slowed that, you know, that constant incline. Like you think about like smoking, drinking, like all, I mean, you know, you could go into it really, really deep, but like, just let's, like you said, let's learn how to use it. One of the biggest things that we're finding in our school is the topic of AI specifically, is there are kids who are like, I'm never using it. I hate it. I'm not using it. It's terrible. It's bad. And then there are the ones who will use it to think and basically to walk. Like, I don't know which foot to put first. What do I do? ChatGPT, help me, please. You know, like there are two different sides of the spectrum. And for both of those, I think the approach is the same, is to teach them, like, what is it actually used for? What is it? How can it be purposeful for our lives? Because it can. But like, to say you don't use it, I'm sorry, but you already are. And to say, and like to use it for every single thing, like, hi, let's learn about the value of developing our own brains and our thinking skills and our ability to problem solve and critical think. Like, we need that. So we can't just use AI for everything, but we also have to recognize that it is being used, and it is used. And wouldn't we rather understand that and then make a like informed decision? And also parents.
And you know, we've spoken about how, you know, AI tools should be used responsibly. You know, you have most schools in the world now have the option of using, you know, whether you're using Google Workspace or whether you're using Microsoft 365, you've got the option to use Gemini within Google Workspace or Copilot within Microsoft 365. Both of those are safe mediums in using AI because that data is not being used to train public models. That data does not leave your organization. The way we explain it when people aren't convinced is, if you're putting your student information into Google Docs or into Word Online or into Google Drive or into OneDrive or SharePoint or wherever you're putting it within those environments, using Gemini within Google Workspace is the same as doing that, right? Google told us that during the Gemini Academy, right? That data is safe and secure. Now, like you said, the students are going home and they are using ChatGPT and they are using the public models. You know, everyone, how much have we seen on Instagram and social media right now? Hey, ChatGPT, create a caricature of me and my job based on what you know about me, right? They are going and doing that because it's become viral, right? They are already engaging with these platforms. The responsibility is on us to make sure we aren't just building that bubble around them again, where it's like, when you come to school, AI does not exist. But then when you go out of school, AI does exist. But hey, don't use it to cheat, right? Again, you're telling them again what not to do. They're gonna go and do it. They're gonna go and cheat.
You know what? And it's like, we talk about education for kids, but it is also education for the teachers and education for the parents, because the kids are they quickly become more sophisticated with this stuff, right? They know how to use it. But then parents are like, I don't know what they're doing. They're just playing video games. And then that video game ends up being Roblox. And then they don't understand what's actually happening on that device, so that they can't make an informed decision on the safety of their child. Like, that is a whole other conversation on the adults in these children's lives saying, hey, I might not be an expert on this, but I'm going to learn so that I can decide as the parent for this kid how we're going to approach this. How are we going to approach AI? How are we going to approach this new video game that they want to play, right? To take it away doesn't necessarily do anything, but to have a conversation and say, hey, did you know about this and this and this? And here are some situations where maybe this has gone wrong. Is this still a game you want to play? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Dubai in the United Emirates announced very recently that they've now brought in a child digital safety law where parents and guardians are expected and required to take an active role in supervising their children's online activity, 100%. Going beyond default app settings to actually protect, guide, and educate them.
That is like so necessary yesterday for everyone. Just like, how, at what point did we go, like, I get it, we're all tired, everyone's tired, everyone needs a minute. But at what point did we feel like the random safety controls on the iPad are enough, and then we can just turn on YouTube and let it go because I'm sure it's fine? But what if it's not fine? Then what? Right?
But you see, even as adults, right, we get in every day of our lives. How many websites do we visit now? And the first thing you're presented with is the cookie banner. And I accept. What are you accepting?
No idea.
Right? What? And go back to the days previous to the internet when we were installing, WinZip onto our Windows PC. And what do? You click next. I agree to the terms and conditions.
Yes, just let me have it.
Yeah. Next, finish. Right? And it's like, what have you agreed to? Mm-hmm. Right? And we've seen it where, and social media has helped in this aspect. We've seen it with Adobe's new terms and conditions, CapCut's new terms and conditions, WeTransfer's new terms and conditions, where suddenly they want to have, hey, you own the content. Don't worry, you own the content, but you give us royalty-free, indefinite rights to use your content in any way whatsoever to train our AI models, right? And people are continuing to use it, right? Because no one's got time to read the terms and conditions. I think we spoke about this on our first episode, right? Yes. Where how long it was, and no one's got the time for that. But the fact of the matter is just because you haven't done it doesn't mean it doesn't apply. It definitely does apply, and that's the same with regards to the way our students, our children are using these platforms. It matters.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's so funny. Like, I had a conversation with a mom friend of mine, whatever, and she's talking about, they're very controlled on technology mostly, but she was saying to me the other day, like, oh, it's just so busy. We're so busy. So we're getting home and I'm just giving her, the iPad. She's on YouTube Kids. I'm like, oh, what's she watching on YouTube Kids? Like, what's she into? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, you're not with her? She's like, no, she's upstairs in her room, but like, we've got, all the things. And she's just like hanging out on YouTube Kids for 15 minutes. I'm like, so you won't let her go to the playground alone. You'll sit like and watch her at the playground, but you're going to let her go upstairs to her room and watch YouTube Kids for 15 minutes alone. And you don't know what she's watching.
But it's only when you paint it in that analogy do people start to suddenly it starts to tick, right?
Right. It's like, why won't you let her go to the playground alone? Strangers? Huh. Weird.
Yeah. Because there's this perception that the virtual world isn't real, right? It's just a virtual world. Nothing is going to happen in that virtual world, right? Whereas you won't let them go out alone into the real world because you understand the dangers and the risks there. But because you don't understand the dangers and the risks with the virtual world, suddenly it's like, hey, go for it, knock yourself out, break a leg, and suddenly it's like, what are we? And so much, there's such a need for parents and guardians to have that understanding, not just relying on the school. We say all the time that the real learning starts from home. I mean, ultimately, as a teacher, how much time are you really spending with the students? The 6 hours a day or whatever it is. Newsflash, there's 24 of them in a day, right? There's they're spending a lot more time at home or elsewhere.
They are.
And a lot of that learning and nurturing will happen at home. And so I think there needs to be a big mindset shift in that, and understanding the world we actually live in. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. Absolutely not.
It's not. And you're not going to get it right every time, but and you don't have to take it away. It's just moderation in conversations, I think. I don't know.
But we've pretty much talked about what was being discussed at the Bett show in so many circles, right? AI, online safety, that kind of stuff, and everything else that was happening at Bett, with the Bett, the way the show happens now. You've got two halls opposite each other. You've got the kind of like the services hall, and then you've got the hardware hall. And oh my gosh, there was robots this year. There was robots upon robots upon robots, right? A lot of that, and I get as well. If you ask me honestly, in the last few years, how much true innovation have I seen that isn't AI? It's been pretty stagnant from that perspective, because ultimately we're kind of at a precipice where the vast majority of big tech are focusing very heavily on AI.
I feel like it kind of makes sense too, right? Because think about the jump. I mean, the first iPhone came out, what was it, 2004, 6, something?
No, later than that. 7, 8, yeah.
Okay. It was just after I graduated high school, fun fact. But so that happened, okay? And then think about how different our world has become in 2 decades. It kind of makes sense that it would plateau a little bit, no? From the tech, not AI out of this conversation, but just the actual tech innovation, the things that our technology can do without AI. It makes sense that, there are all these ideas and all these changes and all these things. It makes sense that it would kind of slow down a little, which maybe the rest of us could just sort of catch up for a minute.
But, we get that every year when Apple announces their new iPhone, right? It's like, oh, here we go again. It's boring. Apple have forgotten to innovate. And it's like, what more do you want your phone to do, right? It's not going to make your coffee for you, right?
Oh, imagine.
Yeah. There are loads of things and then it gets to a point where are you just adding tech in, adding things in for the sake of adding things in, right?
Right.
And we've seen it with Apple, right? They added Apple Intelligence, and we're now seeing almost 2 years later about the fact that they really didn't know what they were doing with Apple Intelligence. They were just trying to jump on that bandwagon to a point where they kind of held their hands up and said, "Hey, we're now we're now doing a partnership with Google, and the new Siri will be bought based on Gemini." And if anything, I think that's a great thing, right?
I was like, look, they're humans.
Yeah, it's not just that, right? It's, you can't, at some point you have to realize, even for a big firm like Apple, you can't be a jack of all trades, right?
No.
Or you can't be a master of all trades, let's say, right? Okay, fair enough, you're good at what you do. I think their operating system is one of the best. Their software is one of the best. But look, Apple's biggest competitor is Samsung, right? Samsung is their biggest competitor. Who makes the vast majority of the displays on their iPhones? Samsung, right? Their biggest competitor is literally making parts for their biggest competitor. right? It's kind of you go by the strengths of the company. Microsoft did this, right? Microsoft don't have their own AI models. No. They took OpenAI's, right? That's what Copilot is based on. Google decided they wanted to code Gemini. Fair enough, and they've done that. So now you've got. I think if anything, sometimes choice is a good thing, and so yes, you have got choice in the sense of that, but then you get too much choice, and then suddenly it's like, hey, what do I do here?
Well, and there's also like, I liked because it kind of showed the value of like partnership and collaboration too.
Exactly.
You know, it's not always just like this billionaire guy and this billionaire guy and this, you know, like it showed that like, yeah, they recognize that they didn't have it figured out and they are good, like you said, at this one thing, and then they can partnership with this other company.
I mean, if anything, it's almost like full circle. At one point, Eric Schmidt used to be on the board for Apple, and then every iPhone came with YouTube built in, and it came with Google Maps built in, and then, you know, suddenly that got a lot more competitive and that stopped happening. But if anything, it's like, you know, we've seen good collaboration in recent years, not at this headline level, but for example, AirTags and how people were being stalked by, you know, stalkers dropping AirTags into women's bags and stuff like that. Apple and Google collaborated on that to the point where if you have an Android phone and someone has slipped an AirTag into your bag, the Android phone will suddenly tell you that, hey, there is an AirTag following you. And you know, that is very good collaboration, right? Because that is a safety thing, right? But as well, from a productivity thing, I think it's great that there's that collaboration here. Yeah, or it's very easy to, like, you know, let's diss Apple here because they've clearly failed. In a way, I'm glad they did, because who wants, come on, we're seeing it in the subscription world. You've got Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. We're getting it in the UK now, right? We've got HBO Max launching in the UK.
Okay.
But then you got so we have our TNT Sports here in the UK, which currently shows on Discovery Plus. Next month, it's moving from Discovery Plus to HBO Max, which means if you want to continue to watch the sports, you have to go on to HBO Max, but you'll lose access to the Discovery Plus content. So if you want that, you have to then do that. Currently, TNT Sports has the rights to the Olympics, to UEFA Champions League, all the UEFA competitions and UFC and you name it. But in 2027, I think it is, or 2028, Paramount Plus won the rights for that, and so you have to get Paramount Plus. So you're going to have to get, if you want to watch certain Premier League shows, you've got to have Netflix. If you want to Amazon Prime, if you want to watch certain, you suddenly, and it becomes the point where suddenly the choice is not a good thing, right? Because this is costing me a hell of a lot of money.
Do you need to pay to watch Olympics right now?
So the Olympics, Discovery won the global rights for the Olympics. So the Olympics used to be what I think in the UK you have these Class A sports, like for example football. The Football World Cup and the European Cup is a Class A sport. We had to be shown on free-to-air television. The Olympics is also part of that, but because the rights were sold to Discovery, all of the Olympics is shown on Discovery Plus, and then the BBC has access to certain events that they can show. So before, I remember in the 2012 Olympics when it was in London, BBC had pretty much every sport, even the tiny ones you've never heard of, were on the BBC website, and you could watch any stream you wanted. As of the last Olympic, you can't do that. I think Discovery paid something like $1 billion for the global rights. And so even the Winter Olympics, we get certain that are happening right now. We get certain sports being shown on BBC, but all of the sports are being shown on Discovery Plus.
You get all of them.
So you get all of them on Discovery Plus if you pay for that,
but not
all of them on BBC, or you'll get the highlights on BBC.
Fun.
And but you see, this is it, where choice is not necessarily a good thing, because you look at how many platforms you need to subscribe to now, right?
Oh, I know. Just
you know,
your top 3 favorite shows.
Rolling them off. And you know, people are talking about where if you want to watch Premier League football right now, at the moment, the vast majority of that happens on Sky. Someone saying the Premier League, which is a massive multi-billion-pound company now, should create their own streaming platform. Hey, that's great. But then I like to watch the Formula One, which is on Sky. So you want me to sign up for the Premier League's rumored platform, a streaming platform, as well as Sky, because I want to watch the two. And it's just becoming a minefield.
And speaking of that, I almost canceled my Apple Plus subscription. But guess what's filming? Were you on Instagram? Did you see Kat's Instagram today?
I did see
Ted Lasso's filming, you guys. You heard it here first. Keep your subscriptions. It's coming. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh.
It's coming soon. Yes, indeed.
Soon.
Yeah.
soon, hopefully. How many more months do I need? I don't watch anything on Apple Plus. I don't really watch TV because I don't have a lot of free time. But my children, like, it's bad over here because they're like, can you turn on Prime? And they're like, no, switch over to Netflix. Actually, I want to watch something on Disney. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. How has this happened? Or heaven forbid. So we're watching Olympics, right? There's commercials. They're like, what are these things that are in the TV? Like, why have I seen this same person talking about this same, like, cream for 3 times? What's happening? Like, my friends, this is called a commercial and it's good for you.
What was hilarious was, so obviously we've had the Super Bowl for many years on free-to-air TV in the UK now, but obviously we don't get the US obviously the Super Bowl is known for the adverts. For the first time ever this year, you could pay DAZN, another streaming service, £9.99 to watch I think it was on NBC this year, to watch the NBC Super Bowl stream and they actually advertised the package deal so you can watch the US adverts on UK TV. So we're actually paying to watch the adverts.
That's insane. They are good though, but no, we haven't been able to see them for quite some time, as far as I know. I could be very wrong and just not know anything. But no, we're fighting, so maybe that's why. I don't really know.
Yeah, but no, well, we had but it's funny, like, the way that mindset has shifted from traditional terrestrial television to online streaming platforms. The vast majority, when we are watching a sports show or something, which is pretty much only what I watch on TV now, you see the same adverts left, right, and center. And oh my gosh, social media. I mean, you shouldn't know this, Megan, as a non-UK resident, but I'm pretty sure you've heard, because it went viral, Jet2 holidays, right? Yeah. And that now Jet2 have launched a whole range of new adverts here in the UK.
Really?
But same adverts, we just constantly, it's the same companies. You get Jet2, you get Gillette, you probably get some alcoholic company, usually Guinness, and it's just the same ones that go over and over again, right? Whereas on social media, you usually see different, and streaming platforms, you see different adverts, because that's where most of the ad companies are now shifting their ad revenues to the point.
Right.
But then yet you get shows like, for example, we've got the Cricket World Cup going on right now, and you had the biggest game in world cricket, which was India-Pakistan, that happened yesterday.
Okay. I do not
know India-Pakistan, suddenly I live in the UK, but I've got Indian and Pakistani adverts happening on my UK TV channel, right? And they're going where, but it's hilarious, right? That suddenly it's almost like we've become numb to when the adverts, it's just the same adverts, you hear it over, and suddenly when you hear something different, it's like, oh, what? Like that's different. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's so true. Actually, and this is not it's completely unrelated to everything we've been talking about, but just as like an end cap for this, we went to the mountains this weekend, as we talked about, and then I came back because I'm very dedicated to this podcast, obviously, and I didn't stay up late, but I got here. But however, I digress. We stayed in a hotel, okay, and that hotel had a Nespresso machine.
You're obviously earning a lot more from the podcast than I am, Megan.
This isn't an ad, but it could be. I'm just saying. Wow. Does that little thing make a good cup of coffee? Oh my gosh. I am not a single-use coffee person because I like the earth and I try recycle. However, you can recycle them. But dang, it was so fun too. I had a good time. So if like an espresso ad came on the TV, probably wouldn't pay attention, but I experienced it in real life and I'm sold. And on the way home, I was shopping for them online.
I'll have to admit, an advertisement for Nespresso wasn't on my bingo card for today's podcast.
Have you tried it though? Have you? I know you don't.
I have. I'm not entirely coffee, but I have had Nespresso. Yeah.
You've had one. Did it change your life?
No, maybe not.
Okay, you clearly didn't have the one with the little caramel hazelnut swirls on it.
Yeah, no, I haven't had one for a while.
I'll send you one in the mail. It's fine.
What, the actual machine?
No, not unless this is an ad, in which case we would like two, please.
Indeed.
Well, this was fun.
Indeed,
it was nice to get back on the internets with you.
Yes, definitely. Has been a while.
It's been a while.
Yes, we will. I'm taking a break for the next month because by the time this goes live, it will be Ramadan. So Ramadan Mubarak to everyone that is listening, and I'll put a little infographic that I've done onto the show notes when we get around to updating those show notes.
We'll do it one day.
Indeed. But yeah, I'll be busy with that for over the next month, and then it's then we'll be rolling towards the end of March, and hopefully we've got some people we need to reconnect with, so we'll have some more guests next time.
Yes, some guests and podcasts for sure. And and then you're going to ISTE in June. I'm going to Innovate EDU in Cape Town this year in May. So it's the rest of the year is going to be exciting and go by fast.
And talking of international travels, for those who haven't heard us before, Megan and I know each other through the Google Certified Innovator community. And the Innovator Academies are back this year, which is really exciting. And the application window right now is open for the virtual academy, which is going to be taking place between the 31st of March and the 5th of May. And the application window is also open for Dubai, which is going to be on the 28th of May.
That is exciting.
Yeah. And in fact, the application window is open for virtual Dubai, Japan, Atalanta, and Brazil, which is in Portuguese. And in fact, the application window is open for pretty much all of the academies.
Pick your favorite Let's go.
So you've got the virtual academy. There's two virtual academies, one this side of the year, one in the fall. You've got Dubai, Japan, Atlanta, Brazil, and Melbourne, with Brazil being Portuguese and also Spanish, as we were told at the at Bett. So we'll leave a link in the show notes for that. But absolutely, highly recommend
check it out.
Applying for those. If you haven't already, you all you need is level 1 and level 2. And I think Gemini certification as well this year. So get onto those.
Do it.
But good luck to everyone applying.
Yes, highly recommended. You never know who you're going to end up on a podcast with.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And I should shout out, I'm going to be appearing on a podcast for that very reason. Yes, a couple of wonderful innovators from last year from Chicago. So you've got Elizabeth Voci, I hope I've pronounced the name right, and Tina Nunez have invited me onto their Innovators Unscripted podcast to share my story. So looking forward to that. But they've just launched their podcast, so please go check them out. They are Innovators Unscripted, and yeah,
that's fun. Yeah. Awesome. When are you on?
Probably towards the end of March. So
okay, after your
yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yes.
Cool.
Fun. Okay. Right. Well, everyone, thanks for listening as long as you did.
Yes, indeed. And see you next time.
Yeah. See you next time.